Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another round 2 of the console tier 4 season. This is WOR season 19, and alongside me tonight, I have, I'm Cockcast to start off with. Good evening to you. Alongside me is Leopard. Good evening, Leopard.
Good evening, everybody. How are we doing? It's good to be back here, Circuit of the Americas, for round number 2 of Console Tier 4. And, yeah, last week was quite the entertaining affair, wasn't it? Got quite dramatic with in the pit stop phases, if I remember correctly. In the end, that was what cost Brother of Fox in the end and gave Triske the win. So all eyes will be on Triske, championship leader. But of course, we'll see what everyone else can bring to the table here at the Circuit of the Americas here today.
Indeed we will, and I mean, it was an incredible race last time out. There was 3 drivers that we thought may be in contention for the victory. In the end, I think we had a 4th win. But regardless, that is what you get thrown up sometimes in WOR. This is what you get thrown up in a league race at this level. And well, yeah, I mean, who's going to complain about that sort of thing, considering the fact that we've got all this on-track action to bring to you, not just tonight, not just last week, but throughout the season. But tonight, we're going to take a trip around the Circuit of the Americas. It's a track that spans 5.513 kilometers, 20 turns in the Texan desert, as you would describe it. I think it was built in completely the middle of nowhere in Austin, but it was a track designed with all of the best features of the calendar in mind. So you've got snail sections, S sections, you've got a little bit of everything, including one of the highest points of the season at turn number 1, or the highest rises up to that corner at turn number 1. Big Red is how it's referred, and how I'll refer to it, or how I'll aim to refer to it tonight, because I think it's a pretty good descriptor of the corner. And you'll get a DRS zone heading up to that. You'll also get a DRS zone heading out of the first sector. But yeah, you can see on that track map there, that distance up to turn number 1, that will be a prime overtaking spot. Prime overtaking spot as well on the exit of the second DRS straight. So DRS it'll play a big factor here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Will definitely play a huge role, the DRS, and, you know, keep it within that 1 second. I think with the way, you know, the nature of the track with the S section, and then, you know, after that second DRS straight where Brother of Fox is coming through now, there's a lot of opportunity to gain time through those 2 sections. And, you know, especially when tyres will also begin to drop. You know, this track can be notorious for, you know, its tyre wear or tyre drop-off. So that will play a role as well come race day. I mean, we hope it won't spread out, but there might be a chance it could spread out. Someone, you know, just... It's one of those tracks where you have a flow, it can really help you out, and it can really give you an edge over the rest of the field, as Bram de Wissel goes top of the timing screens with a 1:31.723, first time on the board.
And weirdly enough, it came up at the top of my screen, and therefore the stream screens, that Nico had actually set the fastest lap of 1:30 point something, but he actually hasn't set a time, which is interesting enough. But I'm sure that's hopefully a visual glitch. Fingers crossed that's a visual glitch, as Mad Dogs comes across the line the second time to set 1:31.8, so 10th off Bram de Wissel. Pavlos is going to come around the final corner now. He's going to set his challenger. Is it going to be competitive in the 1:31s? It is. It's going to be the most competitive into the 1:31s. 1:31.697, so just ahead of Bram de Wissel, but AMS Knight goes even faster. So the times, well, they're already coming down.
Yep, and they'll continue to come down throughout the rest of the session. I reckon we'll probably end up somewhere in that low 31 bracket. Maybe, depending, we might see a high 30, but I think going off those first laps in qualifying, that might be a little bit of a stretch. So I think probably something like a 31-2, maybe, would be my guess. Something like that, something in that ballpark, I reckon, is what the drivers could maybe potentially get down to. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what track evolution does. We'll see, what time, the amount of time these drivers have left on the table in their first qualifying runs. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of time left remaining in this session, over 12 minutes. So still plenty of time for drivers to get times on the board.
Yeah, and well, at the start they're all pretty tight together. Knight and Pavlos within a tenth of each other. Bram de Vissel and Pepine within a tenth of each other as well. Mad Dogs only just outside in the 131.8. But the track evolution on this year's game, I mention this pretty much every qualifying that I commentate on, but it is absolutely ridiculous at some circuits, and I feel as though this is going to be one of those circuits where it is ridiculous. They are going to, we are going to see tenths shaved off, almost like it's nothing. They'll be doing the same thing, but just because of the fact that the track is gripping up a little bit more, there's a little bit less to worry about. And so those times, those 31s, those bankers are essentially pointless in terms of the overall session. I could be completely wrong though, and that's the risk that those drivers who don't set those early laps, who maybe do invalidate, like we've seen a couple of them do, well, those drivers run that risk of not having that lap to fall back on if they don't pull together the last one for whatever reason. We saw Nico and Ollie Hornby, they both invalidated their first runs. I'm sure that they weren't the only ones, but those were the ones that we had eyes on. At least we got a couple on their first push laps now, Bella Fox being one of them, Duncan being another one as he heads through the first sector. Bella Fox will follow him through into the S section, but Duncan, big wobble out of the S's, but it's pretty much a continual less the entire first sector, even though they may be taken slightly differently. Now it's heading down to the hairpin, which it's very difficult to get right. Duncan, though, just throwing the car in, throwing everything behind that turn, and he gets out of it pretty successfully. Actually, DRS is going to be open for him as he heads down the back straight. Pretty long back straight, one of the longest, not quite as long as last week, what we saw in China, but almost up there. And then the final sector, modelled on the snail sections, apparently, of that Chinese that Shanghai International Circuit, the Chinese Grand Prix circuit. They're all medium speed corners where you've got to keep the minimum speed up. Third gear, fourth gear is what Duncan is trying to take them through, and that's pretty much nailed on what you have to do. You need to take a wide line through there. Duncan taking a bit of a tighter one, as the inclination is to, as every time I'm running around this track at least. And Duncan will come around the final corner. Big right lockup, interestingly enough, but he's going to come across the line the fastest of them all, 131.435. And Bella Fox, well, he's just come across the line. He wants to set another one.
Yeah, just looking at well, Bella Fox, I think, would have invalidated once again. So you need to get time on the board at the very least. Does last week's pole sit-up from Shanghai. But looking at the end of Duncan's lap, there's oh my god, hello Trisket. Championship leader has arrived in the prancing horse. Trisket, it's the woman in 30.6 bracket, like it was my prediction, and he smashed it by half a second, and he's got nearly 8 tenths, well I think 7 and a bit tenths on the rest of the field. Goodness me, that's a lap from the Ferrari.
That is an insane lap, and VK going up there into the 130s as well, 130.866, 2 tenths off Trisket, but we would be raving about that lap if it wasn't for the lap that the Ferrari put in just before. Bella Fox, who dominated the field last time out in qualifying, he'll be looking for something similar, but I really don't think that he's going to be up there. Yeah, he's not. He's backed out of that lap, but those are real huge markers to set down at this point in the session, and I'm not sure we're going to see anyone match those.
Barring themselves, I mean, it could be a shootout between Trisket and VK, likes for pole position, because that's a margin VK can make up, and we'll be interested to see if anyone else can match it, can get amongst it. There you go, AMS Nico in the Red Bull puts it to the 1:30.5 bracket, so the times are tumbling. And well, I said there could be a gap, especially if if you're a driver that's got a bit of a flow. Those top three definitely do have a flow of this circuit at this moment in time.
They certainly do. And I did watch on board with Nico around that final corner. It did look as though he's going to throw a lap in there. Who was that improving? Was it Bram de Vissel going up into the one? Yeah, it was 131.2.
P4.
Ollie Hornby across the line, 131.4. A big kick of oversteer out of the final corner. That could have cost maybe a couple of tenths. Could have seen him up into 4th place. But as it is, he sits in 6th. But yeah, Nico completely proved me wrong about 5 seconds after I said what I said, and he went up to the top of the timing sheets. This is surely track evolution.
I mean, it'll be a bit of track evolution, but you've got to remember, you know, these 3 guys did not get a time on the board in the first round of qualifying. So they definitely would have known, you know, they wouldn't have panicked, they'd have known, right, this is what I've got in my back pocket, you know? And, well, they've well and truly delivered when, you know, you compare it to the rest of the field. And yeah, the rest of the field, you know, Bram de Vissel, Duncan, Ollie Hornby, Mad Dogs, they've got a lot of work to do if they want to have any chance to have a say in the conversation for the podium come race day.
And I'm still keeping an eye on that second Haas car, or the first Haas car, but neither of them has set a lap yet. FRT Bella Fox, who he blew the field out of the water so much last time out in qualifying that you feel as though he is going to do it again. And he is around in sector 1. He's about to start, or he's getting ready to start his first push lap of this session with 6 seconds left, or 6 minutes left even on the clock. So it's going to be very tight for a first run. Maybe he's going to do a double stint, but also something to note is that it's looking extremely cloudy over the circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, I was thinking, and there's been a couple of times where I'm thinking, is that spots of rain? But I haven't seen anything quite yet. As of yet. The second house mayor just had, Eva Gobardi, has just gone purple through sector 1. So, could be on for a potential Haas lockout if Bella Fox can produce anything like it in Shanghai last week. Let's see what the split time is in the second sector. It's purple again. 1 minute point 9 through the second sector for Eva Gobardi in the other Haas. It looks tight. Looks tight. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it a few times thinking, like, is this spots of rain or is this just visual, like mental rain? Like, you think it's raining, but it's just damp. Like, and the grip will just still be the same. Either way, Eva Gobardi up to the line. What's it gonna be for the Haas driver? It looked a decent lap, and it is. Puts it P4 in the Haas. Now, all eyes will turn to last week's pole sitter, Bella Fox, who's actually a couple cents down through sector 1 in comparison to his teammate.
Yeah, and I think that's the effect of the rain. I don't think this is our minds playing games. I think there is rain here around the circuit of the Americas, and yeah, you can see there. I couldn't tell if that was a lockup or a big spot of rain, but it's such horrible conditions. I thought this when we went into the lobby, but I figured that it was just overcast. But now it's definitely on that brink of beginning to rain.
Early.
As Bella Fox he's invalid, so another lap goes to waste for the Haas. And so we could even be seeing last time out's pole sitter not even setting a time.
Yep, he's only going to have one go at it, and that's if he has a set of tyres left. He's made a few goes at it, as the Haas driver, so yeah, it's going to have to be one and done by the looks of it. I mean, he's had a few goes at it, but they've not come to fruition. Anything, it's just not hooking it all up, is the Haas, so it's a bit of a pressure lap coming up for Bella Fox.
But coming around the final corner, sorry to interrupt you, coming around the final corner, Trisco was 2.5 tenths up, and he's gone quickest.
My.
130.4. Are we seeing the same weather conditions?
No idea. As I said, it's been a few times where it looks like it's raining, but I don't think it is. I mean, whatever it is, it's not affecting the track. Whatever's happening, and these times are absolutely tumbling down. I mean, think about it. 10 minutes ago we were talking about 131.4s, let alone 130.4s. That's just how quick these drivers are going at this moment in time. In particular, the Ferrari of Triscay. VK also put it up onto the front row in the other Aston Martin. So VK's managed to put another run together, basically carbon copy of the run previous. Triske puts it on pole, VK just slots him behind into second place within about a tenth or so. So, well, they'll have one more go. Will they have one more go? Well, no, they won't. Those two won't have one more go at it. Triske and VK are done. They will not be able to get back into the pits and get back out in time, I am almost certain. As for Bellero Fox, the mentality kind of changes, because you know you've only got one more go at it, and I think whilst it may not be ideal for Bellero Fox, it might just be a good idea to, say, knock a couple tenths off the what you know you can do, rein it in a little bit, and get a time on the board. Because surely, you know what you did in Shanghai last week. Surely, if you just knock it off by a couple tenths, you're at least going to put yourself in the top 5, which is going to be far better than starting all the way down in P13 or even last.
Yeah, well, it's not looking good, because currently he's sitting on the back row of the grid. And I mean, he did claim, to be fair, last week that he was a one-track pony, that he was only good at China. Well, we will have to wait and see today. His pole lap last week seemed to suggest that, and his struggles today also seem to suggest that, as VK becomes the first retirement of the session. He didn't think he's going to improve on a 130.546. Ollie Hornby becomes the first driver across the line to start his final run. Every single other driver, apart from Triske, have made their way out of the pits.
And that lap's gone.
And that lap is gone, you're correct, in turn number 1. We'll watch on board then with the Alpine Mad Dogs, who I think he set the first time of this session with that 131. It looked to be an alright lap. He improved on it to 131.5. Still not good enough, though. And, well, a lap here is what he's going to need to pull out, throwing his car through the S's in the first sector, throwing it almost into the barrier. You can see it is slippery. Well. And Mad Dog's lap is surely gone there. He was improving in that first sector, but unfortunately for him, it's not to be. It's Pavlos struggling through the first corner, so maybe that grip is gone. We will have to wait and see. On board now with Bellero Fox. The conditions actually look a little bit brighter, but I'm not sure if that's just. I'm not sure if that's my mind tricking me into different things. But it does appear that there's more sun than there was a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, definitely. It does look a little bit brighter, doesn't it? All that talk of rain, I think we can put that one to bed. As Bellero Fox now enters the back straight for the final time. Got to keep it clean as last week's pole sitter. Triske is out on track, but I don't think he's going to be able to get around in time. There you go. Checkered flag is out. So who's actually going to be the first across the line? It's going to be, well, it was going to be Ollie Hornby. Obviously, that time has gone. Mad Dogs' time has also gone. So I think we're going to be looking at the Mercedes of Bram de Wissel will be the first man to cross the line with an actual lap time or potential improvement. Rounds the final sector, rounds along right-hander, past Hayden Hill, into the penultimate corner, and that lap's gone as well. They can't quite get it together, can they? 3 laps invalidated, or 2 laps invalidated, 1 a major mistake. Now then, it is all eyes on last week's pole sitter.
Bellero Fox across the line, front row for the Haas. Where has that come from? 130.455. So close to toppling Triske at the top of the timing sheets. Just having a look now at the rest of the drivers to set times. AMS Knight, he's improving by half a second. He should be up there in 5th or 6th place. He finds himself in 6th place. Duncan is heading through the final sector now. He will be the last driver to set a time, as Bourbon was the only driver not to set a time as he invalidated on his final run. We've got quite a decent split, but well, I was going to say quite a decent split. The top 5 are split by just over a 10th. Duncan makes it the top 6 as he goes in to 6th place. 6 drivers in the 130s. Everybody else a mile away.
Yep, indeed. It'll be Triske on pole position, so championship leader going about things in the right way and almost laying down a mark and making a statement to say, I fancy pulling away in this championship, try and stop me. Bellero Fox last week's pole sitter will start alongside him. VK as well we want to look out for, as well as Nico on the second row. It's actually all, it's very tight. You'll have Evigo Bardi as well in 5th. Those 5 should produce a cracking race, and it'll be up to the rest of the field to see if they can match him on race pace.
Absolutely, it'll be because there's a few drivers down there as well that you know have the pace. So the likes of Bram de Vissel, for example, he definitely has that pace to jump up into the top of the field. Pavlos as well. Both of those drivers are ones that I would identify as ones instantly that I just look at it and I go, you should be so much higher than that. Blue skies around the circuit to the Americas, at least for the little fun race. I'm still not sure because I haven't paid attention how we do it for the main race. I'll keep an eye on that, but we'll keep an eye on this race.
So from what I remember from Tier 1 last week, it is whatever this is doesn't matter. From what I remember, it's just going to be completely dynamic, and you get given what you're given. Which adds a different dynamic, I guess, more realistic dynamic to league racing as the chaos unfolds into turn 1. Who's gonna win this? Gonna win this one then. I mean, safety car's out. Still got 4 of them in at this moment in time. But yeah, I remember, I guess, a few years back, it would be just, if there was lobby restarts, you set the weather as is, then you could almost, plan ahead in qualifying for what the weather, will do. If it was, if you knew it was going to rain, particularly if it was, if you knew it was going to rain heavy, you could maybe, back off a little bit in qualifying, put more towards a wet setting, sacrifice a bit of grip position to charge through the field in the race. Obviously now, don't really get a chance to do that. Certainly not fully anyway. You'll see if it's raining. It's like, oh gosh, this is a new one. I wasn't expecting this, so nice little change.
Well, yeah, a turn up for the books. A turn up for the. I'm sure we'll see whether you're right or wrong. I'm sure you're right because that seems to be the right way to do it.
I've been speaking for like the last minute, completely pointlessly.
As well, I mean, that would be funny to be honest.
Yeah, look, we had to fill the time somehow, right?
Well, tell you what we can do to fill the time. A couple of messages from the league's sponsors. Right, okay. Welcome back, everybody. I've switched back to the view of just me. You don't get a look at Leopard, unfortunately, tonight. Maybe at some point soon I'll get you to send your webcam over. I just need to adjust because I'm not fully in shot. I am gonna purchase a few things at some point soon, which means that you won't have to see like literally the entirety of my face. I'll be a little bit further back, which is that's a bit more chilled. You get to see my awful fashion sense, but as our minds head towards the race, let's have a think about let's have a think about who we think's going to win this one.
Oof, good question. Predictions. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to go back to last week. But I am going to go back to last week and say, Triske's going to go back to back, is what I'll say. And I've avoided the obvious, as you can probably guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, he benefited from a situation last week that the top runners just they struggled with that safety car. Hopefully today we won't see that same thing. And if Bella Fox's pace is anything to go by in that qualifying session, I think it's going to be a struggle. Something as well that we need to look out for is those track limits penalties. We saw so many drivers invalidating. As I'll move over a little bit more so I can be in shot. We saw so many drivers invalidating on their runs. I don't know how many we would have had in, but I think we would have had about 20 push laps invalidated there, which is pretty decent numbers. I'm sure in the race it's going to get a little bit worse because we're going to have, we're going to have heavier cars. We're going to have worse tyres. We're going to have harder tyres. And so drivers will be maybe pushing slightly over their limit.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, I think it's one thing we kind of forgot to mention about qualifying is how difficult this track is on track limits. How difficult it is to keep it clean whilst keeping, a good pace. And there's a very high chance, like last week, but for track limits reasons, that this race gets decided on penalties. It's a big possibility that happens here today.
Deja vu. Back to last week because of wasn't it first and second who both had penalties, which handed positions to people. I think second place had a 3-second though, as opposed to a 10-second. I'm expecting like upwards of 20 seconds today for at least somebody.
Potentially, yeah.
But there we go. There's a fun protection. There's a fun prediction to make. Who are these drivers is going to get that? Who's going to get? Who's going to
break the 20-second barrier? Yeah. Who knows? I've seen someone disqualified in the league race before for track limits.
I was commentating last week, and we made it up to 50 seconds of penalties because they got lapped, and they got lapped by so many people at one time that they couldn't physically get out of the way of everybody.
Oh my gosh!
So they got up to 50 seconds and they just gave up.
Yeah, I've seen like what's that in like ignoring blue flags kind of.
Yeah, they were all 10-second ignoring blue flags, and then.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember. I think it was Abu Dhabi. Someone picked up in like upwards of like 40 seconds worth of track limit penalties. Yeah, mad.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, drivers will get in their setups on, sorting their strategies, and hopefully in the next few seconds we'll be good to go.
From the looks of things as well, a lot of the drivers are going to do hards first. We'll see presumably two strategies: hards, medium, or medium hard. The top 4 at the moment, they have the hard tyre selected. Whether that's what they're actually going to go for, it's a completely different story. But yeah, Cota's quite a bad track for strategies. It's quite boring in terms of the hards, mediums, or mediums, hards. But hards, mediums does really tend to work. This track does lend itself a lot to chasing, to overtaking, because of those 2 long DRS zones, because of those the inviting overtaking moves. But that is just 5 lights away as we go to them. There they are. It's 5 lights. And here is the action as we get underway here at the Circuit of the Americas. Trisket gets a great start. Bella Fox also gets a great start, and they're going to be side by side into turn number 1. Contact between the two as the Haas gets ahead. There's contact further back, almost 4 wide for second place now as Trisket, Nico, VK, and Ave Gabadi all fighting it out. Trisket and Nico side by side. Nico diving, but not quite being able to overtake. Still maintaining that 3rd place. VK and Ave Gabadi slot into 4th and 5th. And it looks like most of the drivers, they're not making those moves in the S sections because they're saving it for that straight. They've ended Sector 1 now. It would be too high of a risk to make those moves on lap 1, but they're making them now as they're side by side. Between Bram de Wissel and Knight, Knight gets through. Mad Dogs and Pavlos in the background. They're side by side. Knight and Bram de Wissel are still side by side, actually, as they head now down the straight. Knight's going to get no slipstream off anybody else. Trisket is fighting in the meantime for the lead of the race. That's almost a corner cut from the Ferrari, and Bella Fox just has the momentum to stay in the lead. Nico almost diving it down the inside. Trisket still holding on to it though. Nico tries to slot through. He's unable to. And Trisket is still side by side with Nico as that's Pepine going round in the background. Nico trying to cling onto the outside line of Trisket. That will compromise his line, and VK will be able to attack now as Apex Chaser becomes the first driver to retire from the session. And lap 1 of this Grand Prix. A lot of action, but it ends on a slightly more boring note as Apex Chaser retires and brings out the first safety car of this Grand Prix.
Duncan in as well. Is this going to be wing change, or is this strategic? Yes, it is going to be wing change. I can already see a bit of front wing missing off the I thought I could see front wing missing off the Alpine. Clearly it is strategical because that wing has not been changed. As I said, medium tyres for the Alpine. I'm not sure if everyone knows where if it wasn't for the have to use at least one set of 2 different compounds. There's one of those where actually if to scrap that rule, the medium would be better. But of course you have to use one of each. And well, with that safety car, I kind of lends into I will put on set of mediums and I'll put on another set of mediums later on. Who knows? But yeah, a lot of action, a lot of racing involved in that opening lap. Obviously, Bella Fox got the launch, got the start, got up the inside of Trisket into 1, and I think it was 3 wide, wasn't it, into the S3. Nico and VK and Ave Gabadi. Ave Gabadi had to obviously back down. VK and Nico, stuck their noses in. I went for it. How VK didn't go round, I have no idea. But they both kept it facing the right direction. And yeah, it was all action here down into turn 12. No DRS obviously on lap 1. So that was purely slipstream, purely, aero, ERS modes and whatnot that allowed Trisket to maybe think about a lunge and go for a lunge into 12. But in the end, Bella Fox held on very nicely, and I think that is going to set the tone for this Grand Prix into that section in particular. I think we're going to see a lot of that throughout the rest of this Grand Prix once the safety car comes into the pit lane.
Trisket and Nico have looked early on as if they're going to they're going to fight as hard as they can for this win, or for any position really. But at the moment, it lends itself to the battle for the lead, and Bella Fox is currently in that lead. And Trisket and Nico, they were pretty much fighting even after Nico had been overtaken, as Duncan gets a drive-through penalty for ignoring a yellow flag. I don't think he did. I think he was just coming into the pits, but unfortunately, that's the penalty that's been handed to him. We'll see. Yeah. I think this was just one lap where he was just. I think he forgot to select the changing the front wing. I think he was hoping that it would automatically do that. In fact, it did not. And so he has, well, on the bright side, he has 1 lap fresher mediums.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. It could help him. To be fair, actually, the tyre offset is quite, the difference between, a lap or, having a couple laps fresher tyre is huge, or was huge in the past. So it actually could play quite a role. Especially, he'll obviously be able to go a little bit longer, and obviously he'll have fresher tyres for a second stint, potentially, depending on how long he can take those mediums. Certainly in comparison to Brad de Wissel and Mad Dogs. Whether they can get them as far as the hard time runners, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, mediums at this point well, at this point, Duncan's race is over because of that drive-through penalty. That at some point, regardless of whether he wants to or not, he will have to serve it, and or whether he thinks that that's going to go away, he will have to serve it. 1.6 seconds is the gap between Triske's and Bellerofox as the Ferrari takes his time. We're expecting the safety car to come in this lap. Indeed, it is. I summoned the message from the race control clip. Well, I'm running the race control. That's why it seemed fixed last time out. It's because it was. But
oh dear.
I already making that claim on
another level.
Already making that claim on round 2 of this round 2 of this season. I'm sure that's not the last time that I'm going to make that claim. Just to clarify, I'm not the race director. I have no control over this. But regardless, we'll move on. Bellerofox is leading this pack. He's going to lead us away around the final corner to begin lap 4, and only the second lap of competitive running. It will hopefully be the first full lap of competitive running that we will get throughout this race. He's just backing the rest of the field into each other. He wants Trisке and Nico to fight because he knows they absolutely will fight. And VK as well, side by side with Nico, as Bellerofox gets us going once again here in Kota, and he gets a decent start. 6/10 is already what he's pulled out on Trisque. Nico is right behind the Ferrari. He's not going to go for a move for the time being. Someone who is, though, is Ollie Hornby, although he's actually being overtaken by Pepine. So it's Pepine making that move, although he has a slide through turn number 1, which could see the Williams get back into it. Not quite, so Duncan's coming to the pits again to serve that drive-through penalty. But, yeah, Bellerofox just leading this pack away so well early on. Pepine and Ollie Hornby, from your reactions, are having a major scrap, and Bourbon trying to get involved now. Looking around the outside, Ollie Hornby cutting that off before that could get any worse for the Williams. He could be sending it now on Pepine down the inside. Can he get the exit? No, absolutely no, he cannot. But it slowed them down. But Trisque has gone to the inside of Bellerofox, maybe for the lead of this race. Is he going to go for that move? He's going to have to now that Nico's taken the outside line. And that means that even though Trisque didn't want to go for that move, he's now going to have to suffer the consequences as Nico tries to slide through. Trisque now has the inside line. He will take the preferred line. And it looks as though he will take the preferred position. Nico, though, continuing to stick that yellow nose in as they head now to turn number 19. Who is going to come out on top? It's going to be Nico.
Interesting, and VK is taking advantage of a poor exit as well of Trisque into the final corner. VK is up the inside. The Ferrari leaves it. Was a bit too kind on exit. Could have easily moved him onto the curb, but allowed Trisque to just drive it around the outside. And now they're going to be side by side into turn 1. Here comes the Ferrari around the outside of VK in the Aston Martin. They're going to be still side by side on exit. Great respect between the pair. And now it's all about who's willing to dare into the S's. They're both willing to dare. And in the end, VK's the one that has to back out and yield. And Trisque holds on to P3 for the time being. That's a massive cut from VK, by the way, in the middle of the S section. But Trisque, bad couple corners, getting a little bit beaten up, but he's done well to at least keep on to P3. And Nico, well, he took Trisque about, well, a lap ago. Just up the road a lap ago, and now he's setting his sights on Bellerofox. Yeah,
with Trisque massively behind, 8/10 is what is the gap, and Nico takes the lead of the race. They will try to break that momentum, that slipstream for the Ferrari, and it looks like, well, it looks like they've been unsuccessful in that because he's been able to build his way back up into it. But that was the opportunity. I'm sure there'll be plenty of other opportunities as VK and Trisque now are going to fight. But Bellerofox and Nico, they will be having a fight of their own. Mad Dogs, in the meantime, he's having a fight. This is for P7 with AMS Knight. Currently has the lead. Mad Dogs has the softer compounded tyre, the outside line, but AMS Knight covers that off pretty well, and that opens up a move for the last corner for Mad Dogs. Not quite. So drivers looking to try to threaten those ahead on lap 6 of this Grand Prix as Abe Gabadi looks to the inside of VK. This is a huge set. He could take 2 cars. but he's going to take himself out instead. And Abe Gabadi drops down the order. P9 is where he falls to. Somehow doesn't pick up any front wing damage. But I think that was just a dive bomb gone wrong.
Yeah, it's just one of those. He only wanted to get past VK. That was his only intention. But he got a little bit suckered in, a little bit was too excited, broke a little bit too late. And next thing you know, he's heading to the scene of the accident, and he's out of control. There's not a lot I can do. There's always, Trisky's always going to be there. And yeah, Abe Gabadi, luckily, I think for everyone involved, for everyone's sake, he's taken himself out, and he's also not got any damage. I think that's about as well as that could have ended up, really, for everyone involved. Was Abe Gabadi hit the brakes. And he'll still have a chance to recuperate and, try and gain some of those places back. But yeah, just got a bit stuck it in, did the Haas driver. And, yeah, I'm sure he'll learn from that one for future.
Yeah, it felt like he was just trying to make that move on VK, but then he just completely outbraked himself, and he's facing the consequences. Although he's not faced as many consequences as you'd think he would. He's kept his entire front wing. He's within DRS range of Pavlos, which means he's within DRS range of the top pack. And, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th have all dropped off. That's yellow flags out, as that is, Duncan's taken a massive off-road. Ollie Hornby has dived into the pits. I think the yellow flags were for him, but he is retired now from the session. The second retirement on lap 7 of this Grand Prix. And, Bourbon gets past Abe Gabadi. So maybe there is front wing damage for that Haas, because now he's lost another position to Pepine. And even though there is no, there is. Now there is. So maybe he's had a further incident, because he definitely wasn't missing an end plate 2 corners ago.
Yeah, plausible, and again, mentally, I mean, I don't know what happened, I don't know what kind of collision has occurred, but mentally, you get that as VK gets the first time penalty of the Grand Prix. We'll see many more of those throughout this Grand Prix. But yeah, it's just one of those, you get eager, because you should be at the top. You've got the pace to be at the front. You get too excited, and you maybe just go for something that shouldn't go for, and you kind of want to double down on the damage, if you will, not intentionally, but it's kind of what happens potentially. I don't know. It could have just been caught up in a random racing incident. For all we know, we didn't obviously see it. Yeah, now with that wing damage, I think we can say Abe Gabadi is not going to be getting back into this fight for the win, fight for the podium. Pepine's Aston Martin looks all out of shape at basically every single corner. Let's hope he can keep the Aston Martin facing the right way for the time being. Abe Gabadi down pit lane. And yeah, we are going to see another retirement in the pit lane once again. So we're down to 11 here in Texas, as we start lap 8 of 28.
Yeah, well, it's the laps seem to be flying by now as we head further into this race, into this Grand Prix, and we're still seeing the top 8 drivers in contention with each other. Shame that Abe Gabadi actually retired, because he was still within the DRS, actually he had fallen out of it because he was behind Bourbon Boy and Pepine, but he was still within the DRS range of the points, so it's not like he was completely out of it, and all he's got to do now is wait for Bourbon to have a disconnect, and he's pretty much got guaranteed points because Duncan's 15 seconds off. So, and he's also on warm mediums, so he's going to have to pit again.
Trisky.
But Trisky is coming for Bella Fox. Bella Fox tries to cover the inside line, and Trisky is going to back out of the move. But Bella Fox almost going into the back of Nico. I think he's managed to avoid it, but Trisky is just really trying to force a mistake out of Bella Fox here. Bella Fox covers off perfectly the middle line, which meant that Trisky couldn't risk it down the inside, and he also couldn't throw one around the outside because he's probably getting quite close to that 3 seconds that Mad Dogs has just picked up, that we saw VK pick up on that last lap. We'll be seeing a few more of those over the next couple of laps, I'm sure, but Trisky is going to come out of the final corner and try to overtake Bella Fox. He'll have to slipstream, something that Bella Fox doesn't have, as Nico is 7/10 up in the lead, and Bella Fox tries to defend the outside. Well, he tried to defend the inside and then switch back to the outside when he realised that Trisky couldn't really do anything without that momentum, without that slipstream, because the setups will be pretty much the same. They will be almost identical on straight line speed, and Bella Fox will know this now. He's just discovered this information that they are pretty much bang on the same and on straight line speed. But yeah, Trisket, he'll have to find an alternative way around the Haas.
Potentially, or maybe he'll give it another go. I mean, he was right up, towards the back end of the Haas round. To be fair, Bella Fox was putting in a pretty decent first sector. Now within a few tenths of AMS Nico out in front, so we'll see if the Haas driver wants to put a move. No, I think Trisket is going to be going for it once again, potentially. No overtake in sight on the battery department, so there's going to be single file through the second half of the lap once again between the top three. Of course, VK will be there on track as AMS Knights up the inside of Blabda Vissel into turn 12. Good move from the RB. Goes a little bit wide into 13, but that's just to cover off any retaliation from the Mercedes. And AMS Knight up to P5 of the road. It'll be P4 after penalties. If you were to throw the flag out now. Yeah, where would you get this move done if you Trisket? I mean, he looks good through it, and to be fair, Bella Fox is again, that is not looking. It's not looking planted. It's not looking stable. It's looking a little bit out of shape more often than he'd like, and it's costing him a bit. It's over the limit when it comes to the slide. I'd say, as we have another retirement, Pepine with down to 10. They're dropping like flies here in Texas. But yeah, Bella Fox's car not looking quite as settled as he may like the Haas to be.
Yeah, I mean,
again,
this is where tyre wear starts to become an influencing factor. Bella Fox has probably been pushed to his limit by the fact that Trisket and Nico have been trying to push him through, and maybe now he's feeling the brunt of that because he's used to running the race by his own terms. At the moment, it looks like Nico and Trisket are pretty much running him, and he'll want to take the lead of the race as soon as possible. That will not be, though, down this straight, as Nico is doing a good job at the moment of defending that. All he's got to do is break that slipstream, and he's just absolutely flying Bella Fox, unable to keep up. Or unable to overtake. He's able to keep up, but not do anything more, as Trisket sends one down the inside, and Bella Fox with the switchback. He pretty much tempted the Ferrari into that move, and Trisket fell hook, line, and sinker. Bella Fox now, he's 8 tenths behind Nico, but he's probably warded off Trisket for another lap.
Yeah, it's what that corner can potentially do. It can, again, it suckers you in to go for a little bit more than you'd like. I mean, again, it's a very, it's definitely a move that was on. It was a perfectly reasonable move to go for Trisket. Just overdid it, and it's so easy to do. To overdo it, that's going to be huge. Nico with a 3-second penalty. But Bella Fox being sideways through turn 1 will potentially allow the Red Bull to break away from DRS range. Interesting couple of corners here in Kota. It's going to be an interesting further few corners. Can Nico break that DRS to the Haas? He's got a few more corners to do it. It's teetering on the edge. And I think the Red Bull might just about do it. Yep, he's going to have it. Couple tenths is the gap. He's broken clear for the time being as AMS Nico out in front. But briefly, back on the Trisket, if he just got, a bit more precise and just try to level him, well, I think we'll go back to it in a little bit, because here comes the Ferrari. I think it's going to be easy pickings, and Trisket is going to be through, and finally dispatches to the Haas of Bella Fox. VK will also follow through in the Aston Martin into turn number 12, and now these two will have to try and set about reeling in the Red Bull of Nico once again.
And to be fair, they're doing a pretty decent job, because it got down to almost 1.3, 1.4 seconds. Trisket got it back to 1.1, and now he's got to push hard in this last sector. If not only he wants to get back into it, but also the drivers behind will be hoping that Trisket is able to do something, that he's able to get into the DRS. Unable to on this occasion, but it's the S's where that he'll look to gain the most time. Yellow flags out as that's Mad Dogs taking a trip onto the running. No, that's not what I meant to say. Off the track.
Runoff.
Onto that runoff. That was it. That's the word I was looking for.
There you go.
And he's missing half of his front wing. But he's still going to be in contention for points. But never mind. He retires from the session. That's a shame, because he could have been on, well, for 1 point, but for a point regardless. Even if he spent the rest of the race with one hand on his steering wheel, the other hand on his phone. But as it is, P10 is not going to be occupied today. The minimum points that you're going to get is 2, and currently that's occupied by Duncan, who's 11 seconds off Bourbon, 21 seconds off of the pack, so I don't think he's going to catch up. Triske, though, in the meantime, speaking of catching up, was back in the DRS. He's actually got the DRS on the Red Bull, so mission accomplished for Triske.
Yep, just got it in time before the detection point. Here we go. What's going on further back? It's AMS 9 up the inside of Bella Fox. I think Bella Fox is completely just destroyed the tyres. That's very aggressive. Into turn 30, completely and utterly moves Knight onto the curb. Paralos is going to have a think about trying to go around the outside into turns 14 and 15. Can't quite make that work, but Bella Fox really aggressive in defence. But those hard tyres must be shot by this point because that car is just dancing at this moment in time.
Yeah, this is where the tyre wear does come into play, and the difficult part of the strategy comes in. I'm sure Bram de Vissel, who's just come into the pits, was struggling because he was 2 seconds off the pack. He's come in to switch off those 12-lap old mediums, which means that it's probably about 16 laps you can expect those hards to last. So we're nearing the end of that stint now, and well, the top 7 will need to pit at some point, probably in the next 6 laps. I don't think you can push it any further, unless maybe you're Nico, where you've got that advantage over the rest of the field, and you just feel as though you've got that little bit of an advantage, even if it's only psychological. Bella Fox has almost lost DRS to VK, by the way, in the meantime, which could be incredibly interesting. This must be something wrong with the Haas, because, well, it might just be ridiculous tyre struggles, because now he's out of the DRS. He's got it, so he's going to hold it probably down the main straight, but he's really struggling now. Looking right behind as there's a move. Knight and Knight going for Bella Fox, even not Pavlos, and they're side by side as they head now through the final sector. Bella Fox has the track position. Knight has a sumptuous move around the outside, and he's able to seal it. Bella Fox, though, keeping that Haas in contention there with a little bit of a front wing, but, well, Knight just having a kick on the exit, which just scared Bella Fox off more than anything.
Yeah, Knight, good move, very good move, and I think it just shows, you know, the confidence Knight has on the, you know, on those hard tyres in comparison to Bella Fox. I mean, I don't know what, I'm almost certain it's tyres is going to, you know, play a role with what's going on with the Haas of Bella Fox at this moment in time. Whilst it may not be necessarily tyre wear, it could just be, you know, the setup could be like tyre sensitive, if you will. You know, the car just, once those tyres, you know, begin to wear, the car just becomes, you know, too sensitive with the way he set the car up in comparison to maybe, you know, you look at the front three, you know, it's all, you know, a lot more planted, and as the tyres begin to wear on, it's still, you know, it can still be a stable race car, if you will. It's still planted. It takes a lot more tyre wear for the car to be unsettled. Here comes Triske, by the way. He's right in behind the Red Bull of AMS Nico, and are we going to see a move on track for the lead? It's Triske at the halfway point. He lost the lead at turn 1 to Bella Fox. Are we going to see at the halfway point the Ferrari move back into the race lead? I think we are. To the inside goes the Ferrari of Triske, and he's got the move done. Triske is back up into the lead of the United States Grand Prix here in Console Tier 4, as Nico in trying to hold on. In fact, we'll move on. We've got Bella Fox and Knight ghosting, it seems like, through the last sector. Knight just comes up out on top, and yeah, these guys, this battling is not helping their cause, and I think we have just seen the train split in two over these past couple laps.
Yes, well, yeah, splitting further, considering that a few laps ago it was 8 drivers in that battle as VK comes into the pits. He is going to switch onto the medium, so a very early stop, but an undercut tends to work on this game. But interesting that he's coming. Oh, well, no, because he appears to be having a front wing change, so maybe this wasn't maybe it wasn't a strategic change. Where would VK have picked up that front wing damage?
I do not know, to be honest. I don't think I remember seeing him hit the back of anybody or anything like that. Tricky one. The thing is, I remember watching him through, which corner is it? On track. Turn number 8. Turn number 8 in the first sector, where the leaders have just gone through. It's, I just saw the car. I just looked at understeer a little bit wide. I didn't, think anything of it at the time, but that would explain why I just couldn't really get the car back over to the right for turn number 9. And well, hello, Nico's making the move back on Trisket. And of course, with the wing change for VK, this is going to be a battle on track at least between the two of these guys now. And of course, if Trisket doesn't pick up a penalty, if he just stays there, it's going to be a fight for. Well, it's not going to be a fight. It's going to be Trisket picking up his second race victory of the season.
And you mentioned that the grid had split into, or the top group had split in 2 on the last lap. It's now split into a very uneven 3. It's like when you're at a birthday party for a kid and the cake has been split, but somebody is less favoured by that child than everyone else. Better Fox comes into the pits. Back on topic, and so does Pavlos. They will be switching, probably legitimately this time, onto the medium compounder tyre. The strategies are starting to come out. And I think that was actually, interestingly enough, the perfect time for VK to suffer front wing damage. Maybe he suffered it previously and he was just adjusting. But now he's going to come up to turn number 1, overtaking Bella Fox and Pavlos. Bram de Vissel, in the meantime, he's up there as well, but he's had a few more laps. That's where the undercut works, where the track position that you gain is just ridiculous. He was 2 seconds off the chasing pack, so he was about 4 or 5 seconds off the leaders, and now he's just ahead of Bella Fox. And you'd think, with VK being in part of that lead pack before he came into the pits, you'd say that he's probably gained half a tenth at least. Not half a tenth, half a second at least on that leading pack.
Yeah, in fact, it might have gained a lot more than you think, because that, he's had a wing change and he's come out ahead of, Bella Fox and whatnot. So, as Paulus is also maybe thinking about a move into turn 12, they've dispatched the Mercedes of Bram de Vissel. I actually do think this could be very close between VK, Trisket and Nico if they were to come into the pits anytime now. Trisket is leveled things up with a 3-second penalty. So it's game on again for race victory. Trisket is going to have to make the move on track. Nico into the pits, Trisket into the pits. Where's VK going to come out in all of this? I could be totally wrong, but I'm rather getting the feeling he's going to be quite close to the leading duo of Trisket and Nico. Whereas VK is around the final corner about now. Fastest lap of the race for the Aston Martin. Where is he going to come out in comparison to the leading 2? He's going to be side by side with them. Is he going to split them? VK round the outside of Trisket into turn number 1. The Aston Martin, he's had a wing change. It doesn't matter. He's still in the conversation, and he's actually made an undercut work somehow with that wing change. He's up to P2.
And I think it's the effect of because when you're driving around with a front wing that's slightly off, you're just trying to push the car a little bit too hard just to try and keep up. But now, once you get that front wing changed, you get the feeling again. You just try to drive exactly that same way, but this time the car actually responds to it. And VK has been the full beneficiary of that, as he has DRS down the back straight even on Nico. Not gonna gain as much as he would have liked. None of that pack is actually, and the only driver to gain is going to be AMS Knight, who climbs up to P6 with DRS and with the softer compounder tyre on Bram de Vissel. Duncan, in the meantime, he went round, I believe, at turn number 1, and so now he's 30 seconds off the pack, and he needs a safety car at the very minimum to get back into this race. But it is a race that has been lit right back up, because we said that the top groups had split. It was the top 3, then the next 3, and Bella Fox and Pavlos have fought their way into this battle. Pavlos, who a couple of laps ago, I don't think we mentioned him all race, to be honest, but he's back up to it, and he's back in the leading group.
Yeah, indeed, that undercut has worked a treat. They've managed to get back into the train. They've made a 5-way train now for the lead. All 5 of them with 3-second penalties to their name. No more, no less. So it is, as you see on track, is what you get. Lap 18 of 28, 10 laps to go here in Kota, and it is all to play for race victory and the podium places. Nico leads the way. He's just exits the first sector now. Is he going to be under threat from the Aston Martin of VK, or is Triske going to be having a look down into turn 11 or 12?
I think at the moment Triske and Nico, they have the advantage because they have the softer tyre and they have the track position. At the moment, even though VK is in second place, that's not going to last very long, with Triske bearing down on him down the back straight. And you think with the way that he's made moves over the rest of this race, he's going to send for another one here. And indeed, he is. The Ferrari moves up into second place. VK doesn't have a response. And so Triske is back up into the lead of the race. And I was saying that they both had the track position. Now they both actually have the track position. And Nico and Triske, they can think about trying to break away now, because VK, he's had 2 more laps on those mediums, which it seems minimal, but it is absolutely huge, or it could be absolutely huge in the context of this race if they're able to work together to break away from the rest of the field. But Nico and Triske, they are just, I think they're going to be in their own world over the next couple of laps as Triske picks up the fastest lap of this Grand Prix. Nico, he will lead this race, but Triske is looking at the fastest man out on track at the moment.
He's not the most comfortable all race, I think. Well, those two have looked very comfortable all race and certainly have been the best bets for P number 1 and 2 respectively. It just depends on which order it goes, and of course Nico got the penalty first, so it looked like Triske was just going to be cruising a little bit, but he's made a bit of an error and he's allowed everyone back in. And yeah, he's now going to have to work for it and get it done on track, at least for the time being. And these next few laps, as far as VK, Bella Fox and Paulos are concerned, are going to be crucial. Gap up to 0.7 of a second. It's crucial that they stay within 1 second. As long as they're within a second, they'll have a chance of race victory. Here comes Triske, though. He wants that lead of the race back here on lap 19 and 28, and he's got the move done. He breezes past the Red Bull of Nico. Bella Fox fancies a lunge. It's all gone wrong. Into turn 12. He went for the lunge. They got a little bit hooked together. And Bella Fox, well, he's got past VK, but as a result, he's lost a heap of time. Paulos up to P3, and well, it's not the way we expected it, but in the end, Triske and Nico have broken clear.
Yeah, that was really, that move was a little bit like his teammates in turn number 1, where he's just completely outbroken himself. And now Bella Fox, he's going to have to pick up the pieces. Pavlos moves up into 3rd place. Triske picks up another fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Those two at the front are breaking away, and VK's retired on track. VK is retired on track. Okay. I won't mention any more about it, except for the fact that now we have 8 drivers left in this race, and I'm sure VK, I think is it a qualifying ban for doing that? But I said I wouldn't mention it anymore. So we'll leave it to the stewards.
Do what they need to do.
Absolutely, because I'm not a steward. There's a reason I'm not a steward. But Triske and Nico, the only drivers now within DRS of each other, although with that slide Nico's gone for, it goes from Triske and Nico, it's now Nico and Pavlos, and Pavlos is 5/10 behind the Red Bull. Now with DRS available, Bella Fox almost made it into the DRS as well, but a big kick meant that he's not going to be anywhere near. But Pavlos, he's not anywhere near getting that overtake done. Nico is going to get back into the DRS of Triske more likely, so that's where the comfortability of the race that they've run so far comes into it. They've just been able to hot lap, essentially. They've had a lot of practice of just driving by themselves on this circuit, and so their pace advantage will be just that extra tiny bit, maybe a 100th, maybe a couple of hundredths, but they will be feeling the confidence right now.
Yeah, Nico needs all of that confidence to get back within DRS. He's using every little bit of the battery he's got available to him to try and reel in the Ferrari, but it's not going to be enough. Triske, gosh, this might be the first time I've ever seen this on this game. Triske might have actually broken the DRS on his own. Near enough. I mean, he had a helping hand from Nico, who had a massive tank slapper on the exit of Sector 1, on the exit of Turn 9. And yeah, it's just massive slide, and yeah, I mean, still nearly there. It's a couple tenths, but he needs to find those couple tenths, and he's not really got the battery, but neither does Triske. I mean, he has a little bit more than the Ferrari, but yeah, I think Nico, for the time being, is looking a little bit of a lost cause at the moment. He's looking like it's slowly but surely slipping away this race victory as Triske just ekes out the gap by a tenth or two more.
Yeah, and I'm getting quote-unquote confirmation that VK disconnected from the lobby, and that's why he retired instantly on track. That's what VK has claimed, at least. So we won't go any more into it other than that. Nico almost back in that DRS of Trisket. He's just right on the edge of that DRS, but Pavlos, the pressure will mount up from the Williams, and I'm sure, I reckon now that this is Trisket's race to lose. I think this is absolutely his race to lose because of the fact that he's been able to break that DRS. I mentioned it at the top of the broadcast. It is so crucial to have around the Circuit of the Americas, and now that Nico doesn't have it, he is at Pavlos's mercy.
Yep, and if it continues like this, is it too early to say Trisket's championship to lose? Might be a bit early for that, but he's definitely... look, last week it was definitely a case of, you know, picking up the pieces, or there to pick up the pieces. You know, had good pace for a podium, did Trisket. And in the end, picked up the paces from, you know, everyone else's misfortune or mistakes. This race, he's been the man to beat, pole in qualifying. And looks like he's just got that little bit extra race pace in his back pocket. Didn't quite get the start he wanted. As Knight's getting past Bellero Fox. I think Bellero Fox's tyres are absolutely shot. Or just the setting on that car does not suit race trim whatsoever, no matter what tyre you put on it. But back on the Trisket, yeah, he's definitely looking like the man to beat this season, isn't he?
Well, absolutely. Because he was able to pick up from misfortune in China. Here today, he's just been able to get up there off his own merit. And we saw Bellero Fox in qualifying for China, at least, looking like he was the quickest driver. In qualifying here, I think he banked on the qualifying too much, is my assessment of it. I think he was just hoping to blast away in the first few laps, and then he could make all the mistakes that he could. Alas, he did not do that. And although he did fight for the lead of the race, now he is suffering the consequences with 6 laps left in this Grand Prix. And this is where having a qualifying setup and a race trim setup is so very crucial for the drivers. You need, well, I say you need 2 different ones. You need like a balance of both in one. And I think that's what Trisket has been able to manage over the last couple of races, because although it is partially the driver, also the setup plays a lot into it. And I think, yeah, the Ferrari driver has just been incredible at managing both of those at the same time, just balancing it. And yeah, Bellero Fox, it may begin to become a theme now where he tries to push too hard in qualifying, because it's always the temptation to set the quickest qualifying lap, be on pole, because you think you can control the pace from there. But if you can't control your own car, there's absolutely no chance you're going to be able to control the pace of all the other, well, hypothetically 19 cars. At the moment, it would be 7 cars behind you. Yeah,
it very well said. And yeah, it's Bellero Fox is going to have some work to do when it comes to car setup by the looks of it. He's going to breeze past the RB of AMS Knight into turn number 12. That'll be a battle that'll rage on, at least on track. Knight obviously not having any penalties, so Knight will be all set for number 4. Nico is gaining a little bit. It's getting close. That's the first time I've seen that gap actually dip under a second for the time being. So Nico's pushing on. He wants to try and get back within that DRS, and he might. I'm not sure if that was the detection point, or if it's a little bit later on down the line. He might have just... No, he has got it. He has got it. Knight picks up a penalty as well, so that valve is for P4 is back on. But Nico did get the DRS. He was within a second, covered the DRS detection point, and that gives him a couple extra tenths down the pit straight. We start lap 24 and 28. They'll fly through the first sector as per usual, and Nico might just have put himself back within contention for race victory.
He may well have done, as there may have been a couple of mistakes from Trisket, but I think it was just the pace of Nico, essentially, because he's managed to break free from Pavlos at the same time, which is why that gap has come up as Pavlos goes off the track. So I think we might have to have a check in a minute for those track limits warnings, just as an aside, just as a underlying possibility. And I'll load up I'll boot up the old telemetry now, and I'll have a look at the warnings for you. But Nico could be going for the lead of this race on this lap. No, he's not. He's managing it now. The early portion of the race has taught him well, because he was pushing early on in this race. He was going for those sends. And he saw what it did to Bella Fox's tyres, and he doesn't want the same fate to happen to him. So the top three separated by just over 6/10. The last 4 laps of this race are going to be exciting.
Indeed, there will be. It's all to play for. It's Trisky, it's Nico. Can Paulos pick up the pieces? If there was a collision between the two, or if they just squabble a little bit too much, will they be able to pick up the pieces? Who knows? We start lap 25 for 28. 4 laps to go here in Kota. A little bit of a wiggle from the Red Bull and Nico. Is he thinking about a move into turn number 1? Well, he gets right to the back of the Ferrari. In the end, has to lift off the throttle to not hit the back of him. All to play for here in Kota. And do you want to make the move now? Will you be forced to make the move now? If you're AMS Nico, can you wait? Do you want to wait? Many questions will be running through the mind of the Red Bull of Nico. Bram de Wissel says enough of these hard tyres. I'm going to chuck on a set of softs to try and get fastest lap at the very least. For the Silver Arrows. Duncan still chilling on the back straight. Credit to him for keeping at it in the Alpine. A lot of them haven't. From a lot less worse positions. So credit to Duncan for sticking at it. But all eyes, nearly a lap ahead down the back straight, are on the top 2. Here comes Nico then to the outside of Trisky. It's done before the braking zone. The Red Bull of Nico is back into the lead of the United States Grand Prix here at the Circuit of the Americas on lap 25 and 28. What does Trisky have in response? What does he have in his locker for the remaining 3 laps or so? What has Paulos got? Can Paulos bring a surprise on these two? Just over 3 laps remaining here in Kota, and it's anybody's guess who's going to come out on top between these top 3. Will penalties ever say who's close on the penalty front? Who knows?
I'm just trying to bring that up now. I'll get to it after we exit the main straight, because that'll give me the opportunity to look at the in-game stats, because I can't actually find how to look at the penalties on there. So no overtakes have been made. Let's have a look now. Nico has picked up 1, 2. He's on his final warning. Trisky, he's had 1 warning. Pavlos has had 1 warning. So Nico, he's got 2 warnings.
That's right.
Trisky and Pavlos both have 1. So yeah, it is going to be incredibly tight, and the track will feel incredibly tight, especially for the Red Bull of Nico, because of the fact that he's only allowed to exceed the track limits 1 more time. He'll be saving up that ERS. He'll be hoping to try to do it naturally. Actually, Trisky has full ERS, while Pavlos and Nico have almost full. So it's going to be a straight fight to the end, and Pavlos could be looking for that move on Trisky. He'll need to make 2 moves, by the way, if he wants to win this race, obviously, because he'll have to get past Nico and he'll have to get past Trisky. So he will be looking to hurry the Ferrari on past the Red Bull, so he can make that. He can just make it 1 move naturally. But all three of these drivers could be going for different strategies, and I expect them to go for different strategies at this point in the race.
Yeah, I think if you're Paulos, your best bet is trying to either go Trisky into a move early, or just kind of just almost wait and see what happens. Let them fight it out and try and pick up the scraps, pick up the pieces. If it's a P2 they can pick up, great, good result. If it's P1, it's absolute limbs if you're Paulos. But either way, oh my goodness me, Nico! All completely sideways, under braking at mid-corner into turn 1. That allows Trisky to slip up the inside. They nearly hit each other on the exit 2. Paulos up the inside. That is the chance he was looking for. He has taken advantage. It's a mistake from Nico. It's a costly one from Nico. Half a lap ago, he was leading this Grand Prix. A slight mistake into turn number 1. Got the back end loose on the braking. It allowed Trisky to slip up the inside, and Paulos said, thank you very much, I'm going to absolutely yeet the overtake round the outside of turn number 2, and job done. Paulos went up the inside of 3, into the S's, and the Williams is up to P2. Is he thinking about a race victory? He's got the DRS, he's got the slipstream, he turns off the battery. Here comes Nico once again. Are we 3 wide into turn number 12? Paulos up the inside of Trisky for the lead of the Grand Prix. Can he get it? No, Nico's back up the inside into 13. All this squabbling is music. to the Ferraris is out in front, and Nico, almost potentially seeing the Ferrari get away, decides to back out and let Paulos try and reel the Ferrari in. Just over a lap to go here in Kota, and Trisket has a little bit of a buffer.
He does, and that 6/10 could be absolutely huge in terms of the outcome of this race. Pavlos now trying to break it down as much as possible. DRS for 2 more times in this Grand Prix will be incredibly helpful, and he can break it down to 4/10 to 3, but he can't get any closer for the time being. And Nico is well behind as Pavlos almost goes into the back of Trisket, just trying to apply the pressure onto the Ferrari as they head through the S's for one final time. Don't lose the rear. Don't step a wheel onto the red bit. Otherwise, you could be facing the consequences, especially if you're Nico, because that means you're going to be completely out of this race now. Pavlos right on the rear of Trisket, 3/10 behind as they have one more DRS straight to go. They're getting set up for it. Pavlos is taking a wider line, meaning that he can get a better exit on Trisket. The DRS will be activated halfway down the straight. It's activated now. And this is the time for the move for the Williams. He moves to the outside line. He takes the lead of the race. Nico pulls down to the inside line as well. He's going to try to get past Trisket. They are side by side, almost locked wheels as they headed now through the final sector. There's contact between Nico and Trisket. Trisket trying to go around the outside. Nico sending it to the inside of Pavlos. And that is the move that the Red Bull wanted. That is the move that the Ferrari wanted. Because now he's been able to make it past the Williams. As there's contact, they're locking wheels. Once again, he was almost sideways, was Trisket. And now he's lost out. This final corner beckons for Trisket, for Pavlos, and for Nico, who's going to come across the line to take victory here in Kota. Trisket in second and Pavlos in third. Contact between the second and the third on the final lap of this race meant that Nico was able to soak up the pressure, and victory goes to the German.
Oh my goodness me, what a finale that was, Cockass. Nico was down in third. I thought he was going to be at the mercy of just trying to wait on a, mass collision, or not necessarily a mass collision, but mass battling between Trisket and Pavlos to try and sneak through. In the end, it just absolutely planted the ERS. Trisket, a sitting duck without the DRS. Nico went up the inside, into turn 12, held it around the outside of 13, and just completely sent it up the inside of Pavlos into 15. And it was bold, it was aggressive. Pavlos might have ended up with wing damage as a result. And in the end, Trisket tried to get back past Pavlos through the triple right of 16, 17, and 18. They hooked wheels. They nearly collided. Well, they did collide. They nearly went off. They both kept it facing the right direction in the end. And Nico took full advantage to scamper off into the distance and take victory here in Kota. What a finale.
I'm sure there was something that flew off the Williams' car. There was something that flew off someone's car through the final sector, but it was a fitting end to an incredible race. We felt that coming in our bones the entire time. We didn't know it was going to be those three. We didn't know that it was going to be Pavlos, who I don't think we mentioned till about lap 20. He picked up a deserved driver of the day. He could and probably deserved to pick. Well, he could have picked up more. He probably deserved to pick up more. But in the end, victory went to the Red Bull. And it was, well, if you think about it as a whole race, it had to be the Red Bull or the Ferrari, really. It had to be Trisket or it had to be Nico. They were just up there the entire time. Pavlos fought his way back into it, and fair play to him. But it had to be one of those top two.
Yeah, they were definitely, the quickest on track throughout those 28 laps. I did for a second think Pavlos was going to completely steal one right at the end. He did it perfectly. Did everything perfectly. Did the Williams, but in the end, Nico just got his elbows out, didn't he, into that final sector and got the job done. Still a great result for Pavlos, nevertheless, to come from P10 to finish P3 on the podium. Nico from P4 to P1, and Trisket Well, nevertheless, you'll be disappointed to not come out on top here today, but still, in the context of the championship, it's still a good start to the season for the Ferrari, and they'll look to build on that in Singapore next week.
Yeah, well, I mean, Trisket will continue to hold, I believe, that championship lead, and I think he is the one that you want to fight with. Even though he didn't take the victory today, he came incredibly close to continuing his full points, his maximum points as it is. He's almost got that. He's 7 points off it. I believe he's now got, if I do my maths right, 43 points. I think I'm right.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Look at that. But 43 points is what he's going to hold, unless there's any stewards reports or things like that, which I'd hope there wouldn't be, because that would put a dampener on what was an absolutely incredible fight. And I don't think Pavlos is the kind of guy to report a final lap incident where there was 3 points in it. He could have taken the victory, but it did look, even at that point, like Nico was going to break away, and it was just going to be a fight for that second place.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just the way that race panned out. It was, for a second we did think those front two had pulled away, didn't we? But an undercut from VK in the end, brought everyone, and obviously Bella Fox and Paulos came in a lap earlier than the front two as well, and that made it a very interesting final few laps. And Paulos was also, despite what was going on between Bella Fox, VK, and Knight in the end as well, Paulos managed to steer clear of that and latch onto those front two, and nearly stole a win. But in the end, it was Nico who came out on top.
Yeah, and that was an incredible race. I think me and Leopard both need to have a lie down now, as I'm sure. The viewers must do as well, because as much as that was a tiring race to commentate on, that was probably an incredibly tiring race to watch, because it was just, there was so much happening. There was so much to keep on track of. There was so much to process. It's 9:30. It's not the time for those sorts of things. So I'll let you all go now. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And, well, we'll see you again. We'll see you again next time, where the Tier 4 drivers are going to take on the Marina Bay Street Circuit. But until then, it is goodbye.